crossroads of the Ozarks. It's the OGs of podcasting, PID Radio. Welcome. I'm Derek Gilbert.
Hi, I'm Sharon Gilbert, and it almost sounds like the old cheese. We got some old cheese in here.
That's
nice,
probably not too far from wrong.
Roquefort and blue cheese.
Wensleydale.
Wensleydale, yes.
Cheese grommet.
I know. Well, welcome to our living room, everybody. We've got the dogs right here keeping us calm, and we have a very foggy morning.
We do. It rained here on the ridge yesterday, a little pop-up shower yesterday afternoon, which was much needed. But
buckets of rain.
It left a lot of moisture in the air, which is now burning off as we're recording this morning. So thank you for joining us. Pull up your chair, cup of coffee, and download our app if you haven't done that already.
Cup of tea would work.
Tea would work, yeah. PIDradio.com/app or gilberthouse.org/app. Again, gilberthouse.org is our web hub, the center of our global media empire.
Such as it is.
We've got versions for iOS, Android, Amazon Kindle Fire, and also for all the smart TV stuff, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, Apple TV, et cetera, et cetera.
Do you know that back in the day, Derek and I have been doing this for over 20 years, and so we've had a web presence for over 20 years, and websites, this and that, and a number of websites, some that we've just sort of, put on the shelf and said, no, we're not going to use that anymore. PID News, we hardly ever use it. I think we've got an aggregator there, and that's about it.
Yeah.
But back in the day, because it was early on, we looked like we were gigantic.
Yeah.
Look, it's just the two of us.
We got sued once by somebody who was trying to extort money from us
they tried
they
to. But, when we had a lawyer who just sent a little letter and didn't cost us much, but they realized that, hold on, these people aren't anybody. It's just a couple of, it's a mom and pop operation out of an apartment at the time.
Yeah, and that is how we prefer it. So we appreciate you spending some time and joining with us here. And that's kind of why this format is the way it is. Every now and then somebody would say, well, you'll get right to the point. Stop talking about your dogs and stuff. Sorry, we've been doing this way for 20 years, and we're not going to change now. Rabbit.
We are who we are, and we are the way we are. So deal with it. But those of you who've stuck with us for all the couple of decades, thank you for doing that. As Derek said, please download the app.
You may want to turn that microphone around because part of the input on that mic is actually now up against your chest.
Oh.
So I'm going to go that way. There you
You're
go.
Hearing the thump, thump, thump of my heart.
That's right.
You don't want to hear that.
Oh, I do.
Aw, you're sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, sappy stuff that people just don't want to hear. And we will have the old people report at the end of this, so if you don't want to hear it, you don't have to.
We'll delay that. And by the way, the reason for me asking her to switch the little mic around is because it's a new mic for us. We've had it for a couple of years. We really haven't taken it out and used it much because we haven't had call. We bought them because they're first of all, it was one of those incredible special deals B&H Photo occasionally runs, where they were too cheap to pass up. Mm-hmm. But because they're much smaller than the Rode wireless mics that we use.
I like these better than the Rode. Simply the form factor is easier to use, easier to clip onto your jacket or shirt or whatever.
And carry all of the accessories in one small little case, the size of smaller than a paperback novel.
So we're going to...
So anyway, this is the first time we're using them, so we're not familiar with them.
But
really.
But we're using them because we want to take these to Israel with us.
Right.
Next week. We're flying out a week from today.
Exactly. So there will be no PID radio for the next couple of Saturdays.
Not until November, probably.
Yeah, because the 18th to 25th we will be traveling, and then November 1st, would that be the 1st?
We don't get back until Halloween, I don't think.
That is correct. So I doubt November 1st being jet lagged. If we're inclined, we may do a program, but we may still be recovering from jet lag. So we will see.
In fact, where is it? I think we're at Shiloh on my birthday. My birthday is October 28th, and I think that we're going to be in Shiloh, so I get to spend my birthday
with the red heifers.
With the red heifers.
Yeah, that's pretty sweet. So, we are looking forward to this trip. It will be interesting. I've got a new cane here I'm testing out. It's lighter weight than the other one. It's got an interesting little base on it. Well, we'll save that for the OG report at the end, the old geezer report.
PID radio, if you're brand new to this, is peering into darkness. It's that idea of looking at a mirror in the dark. We see through a glass darkly. So we're trying to understand the spiritual war all around us and how it affects our material space in the news and the things that are taking place. What spiritual activity is behind geopolitics? We call it theopolitics.
Yeah, and give you credit for coining that term, which others have picked up on. I think it's very appropriate. The big story this week, of course, is that we are now in that 72-hour period during which Hamas is supposed to be transferring or preparing to transfer the 48 hostages still being held in Gaza. Of the 48, there are 20 that are believed to be alive, and they're supposed to return the remains of the other 28 as well. They were trying to negotiate to do it in stages. That was
Hamas was trying to
do that, right? They wanted to do it in stage because, as far as they're concerned, the hostages are like gold. They are the leverage that Hamas has been using to try to keep Israel from doing what it's been doing in Gaza City here over the last few weeks.
But more than that, every time Hamas has said we will release X number of hostages, then Israel has to release a ridiculous amount of prisoners. And some of those prisoners are terrorists who will simply, it's as if imagine someone saying, I will give you this small thing in return for a thing that is worth so much more, and in the future I'll use it against you.
Yeah.
These terrorists in the past have come back and they have been leaders in Hamas.
Yeah. Benjamin Netanyahu's brother-in-law gave an interview on Thursday this week to a media outlet in Israel, and he said, look, there is joy, understandably.
Absolutely.
But he pointed to an incident back in 2011 as a guide for what is probably going to happen with the exchange that's taking place now. Israel is receiving 48 hostages, 20 of whom are alive, and in return, they're giving up roughly 2,000 prisoners. About 1,700 of them are Gazans who've been detained during the operations over the last 2 years, and the other 200 or so, 250 or so, are prisoners in Israeli prisons because they committed acts of terror.
Yes.
And so Netanyahu's brother-in-law, his name is Dr. Ben Artzi. That's his last name. I forget his first name. Pointed to the 2011 exchange for Corporal Gilad Shalit. He was a member of a tank crew. And in 2006, a team tunneled under the border fence from Gaza, managed to get up close enough to the tank that they disabled it with an RPG. Then they opened the hatch in the back and tossed a grenade into the tank. 3 members of the crew were killed. Shalit was just injured. They pulled him out, and he was held as a hostage in Gaza for 5 years. And when they exchanged for Shalit to bring him home, after 5 years, they gave up 2,067 prisoners, of which 280 were serving life sentences for murdering Israeli civilians. One of those released was Yahya Sinwar, who went on to plan the October 7th massacre. So what Dr. Ben Artzi is saying is, yes, let us celebrate getting the hostages home, but understand that, as before, we have signed with our own hand the order for the next kidnapping, the next attack, the next rockets, the next massacre.
But do I understand it correctly that the most dangerous prisoners are being sent to another country?
That is the
Turkey?
agreement. That I don't know that Turkey's been confirmed, but they're supposed to be sent out of the country. Some of them will be released into Judea and Samaria. Some of them will be released back to, Gaza, and others will be sent to a third country. They will be deported. And it will probably be Turkey that takes that last group. But, as before, as you say, these very dangerous men who are being released, they're not going to give up on their mission. Yahya Sinwar was serving multiple life sentences. Mm-hmm. And when he got out, he just went back. Yeah, he's not now. He's found out that there were not 72 virgins waiting for him upon his demise. But that is the nature of the spiritual conflict. And looking behind this now, this conflict, I am...
You keep talking, I'm going to start closing windows because it's getting noisy out there.
Yeah, in my forthcoming book, arguing that the entity behind this war is the entity known as Shemayaza, the leader of that Genesis 6 rebellion on Mount Hermon. And that entity, I argued in my book, The Second Coming of Saturn, was the same one known to the Canaanites as El, to the Philistines as Dagon, and to the Ammonites as Milcom. In other words, this is Molech that we're dealing with, who in the end times will be known as Abaddon or Apollyon, the destroyer. Mm-hmm. There's a reason that this particular entity is, according to Peter, in chains in Tartarus, along with his colleagues, the sons of God from Genesis chapter 6, verses 1 through 4, while Satan is still wandering around loose. I don't believe Allah is Satan. I believe that Allah is this entity that is locked up in the abyss, who is filled with rage at having what he thinks is his rightful domain, earth, taken away from him. And that when he comes out, the king of the bottomless pit, the angel of the bottomless pit, the king over those that are in the bottomless pit, will get 5 months to torment those without the seal of God. But in the meanwhile, you look at the fruit of his influence on his followers. 1,400 years, Islam has been at war with the rest of the world. What Muhammad created under the influence of this entity is essentially a super tribe. The Arabian culture of the 7th century AD was essentially the same as the culture of the ancient Amorites, and in particular certain groups like the Sutians or the Tadanu tribe, as they were known in the time of Abraham, from which, by the way, the Greeks get the name Titan.
You have a presentation available, don't you, that people can watch on this? Because this isn't just, I think this is probably it. You have supportive evidence that sort of unpacks this idea.
Yeah,
You've given this presentation a number of times.
I'll put a link to because you can rent it for $3 from our streaming video site. So I'll dig that up. It's one of the presentations, The Second Coming of Saturn. Although I didn't tie it directly to Islam, I need to do one where I actually show this connection.
You have in the past presentations you've given, the past 3 times you've given this, you've at the very end, your last slide.
Yeah, but we've not recorded it. It's not available unless they go to hearthewatchmen.com and it's the presentation that I gave at the Remnant Rising Conference in Springfield. Mm-hmm. So if you want to get the streaming video, the video on demand of all the presentations from that particular conference, you will get it in that collection. The same is true with the Go Therefore conference. So either one of those, if you want to obtain the video on demand for either one of those conferences, the presentation where I make this connection, yes, is there. We don't have it on our site. I'll have to get that from Mike or...
You probably can.
Mike or Mike, one of the Mikes.
You're also probably covering this in the book you're writing
now. The book I'm writing right now, yeah, that's exactly what I'm working on. The reason that Israel is in the middle of this struggle, and contrary to what many in the West believe now, and this is why kids are marching for, free Palestine, is they believe that Israel is the cause of all this trouble, that Palestine was a peaceful place where everyone lived in harmony, Christians and Jews and Muslims, until the Zionists came and stirred everything up.
There's never been an actual country. called
there,
Palestine,
no,
a nation of individuals. Remember?
Exactly. There was a geographic location, but that's only because the Roman Emperor Hadrian was so angry at the Jews for their rebellion under Simon Bar Kokhba that he erased the people, or tried to, by deporting something like 900,000 Jews from Judea and then changing the name of the region from Judea to Syria Philistina, or Palestine.
Derek and I believe that there is a literal return of Jews to Israel, that the Lord is still keeping his covenant with Israel, with the Jews,
right,
with his chosen people. We as Christians have been grafted into that tree, and we're grateful for it.
Yeah, Romans chapter 11 goes into all of that. And Paul anticipates the arguments of the people that he was writing to. And he was writing to the Gentile church in Rome. And he actually refers to them as you Gentiles, and says, but, I am an Israelite of the tribe of Benjamin. So he's making a distinction between Gentiles and Israel. We have been grafted into that tree, but we have not become that tree. And he says, some of you will say, well, these branches have been broken off. Yes, that's true. But as God has broken them off for their hard-heartedness, he can graft them back in again. So his point was, don't be arrogant to the branches that have been broken off. If you continue in kindness to them, the Lord will keep us grafted in. If we start thinking that somehow we are now Israel, we are spiritual Israel, which was a concept that wasn't even part of the church until like the 3rd century under Origen, when the church was trying to figure out how could Israel return to the land when the Jews have been scattered from Britain to India. That there is no more. The Jews are done as a people. They're gone. They're out of here. That's where this idea that we've replaced Israel came about. It started with Justin Martyr in the 2nd century. Then Origen came up with this idea that we're spiritual Israel.
But beginning with October 7, 2023, we saw a massive increase worldwide of anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
I personally think that we are headed towards World War III. That is, we're repeating the First World War lead up to bookend the whole series, because World War I led to World War II. And in fact, there were pre-wars before World War I that essentially set that up.
Yeah.
We're seeing the same thing. Regional wars that are setting up, and Ukraine is one of them, that are setting up World War III, and we're just stumbling our way into it geopolitically. Theopolitically, the fallen realm are just having a party.
Yeah, because we humans, as Santayana once said, those who fail to learn the lessons of history are doomed to repeat them. That's a paraphrase, but that's exactly right. We're seeing the same sort of thing. NATO, the European nations, keep inching closer and closer to provoking Russia into an all-out shooting war.
Picture this. If you are a 6-year-old, 6-year-old, you go into the school, the education system, either kindergarten or 1st grade. There are some parts of our country, the United States of America, that according to the NEA, those children, their very first look at the Middle East map, it does not say Israel anywhere on there. It's Palestine.
Yeah.
In both English and Arabic.
Yeah, it's not even showing a distinction between Israel and what the world calls the West Bank anymore. It's just erased Israel altogether. The National Education Association here in the U.S., the largest teachers union in America, has now erased Israel from its map altogether.
The teachers union for decades and decades has been very socialist in its approach to educating our children. There's a belief now amongst them that, frankly, and this is not just in the U.S., but in first world nations, that parents don't really have a right to make decisions for their children. Yeah. It's that it takes a village thing that Hillary Clinton wrote about.
Right.
So the NEA believes that their rights are over our children surpass our own. Mm-hmm. Parents, if you're listening to this and you have young children at home, either because they're yours or nieces and nephews, grandkids, we highly recommend homeschooling.
Figure out a way to do it. We're thankful that our daughter is not in school now. She's in her mid-30s, so we are not having to deal with this. And she doesn't have any children, so we're not grandparents with, a direct stake in the game.
We were very involved in her school system, as were many of the other parents. And it was a great school system.
Right.
But I don't know what they're like today. If we were living in St. Louis today, it might be entirely different.
I will say, when I've gone up to visit Nicole in St. Louis, it's like going to a whole, different reality.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, during COVID, when here in the Ozarks, things completely opened up again, back in 22 and 23.
Yeah, we were closed a couple of weeks. And
realized, okay, well, this is
nothing.
Yeah. So restaurants opened back up again. Went up to St. Louis, and it was, people driving around alone in their vehicles with their masks on. So
walking out in the fresh air.
Yeah,
alone.
With masks on. And so it's a different world, even just in the last 5 years. But you go back, to 2012, we talked about was the Mayan calendar flipping over actually. Did something actually happen supernaturally or spiritually?
I kind of think it did, and I also think that December of 2020, something also happened as well.
The Great Mutation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You bit of a left turn, but this is sort of leading into it. You shared is it at the Gilbert House Substack or your own?
No, we only have the one Substack account.
At our Substack account, you shared a chapter that I wrote for Tom Horn years ago. I think it was 2018, 2019, something like that. And it was about the coming plague. And I said then that I believed that the scene was being set, the table was being set to serve up a massive worldwide plague that was going to essentially shut everybody down and allow for the New World Order to take control. I think that we haven't seen it yet. We had a rehearsal to see how people would respond, how it would spread, whatever, how social media would deal with it. Could you control the narrative by saying mis and disinformation? Did you know that artificial intelligence is now being used to explore possible mutations in viruses, which can then lead to creating new viruses using AI? And it doesn't mean that it would be a digital virus. It means it shows this is what you have to do on the bench in the lab to create this XYZ virus that will have this effect in a human system, this effect in the animal realm, how it would go from maybe a zoonotic event where the original virus is in bats or some other resource pool, and then you just tweak it a bit. Well, here are the instructions the AI gives you, and then you can release it. It's essentially how I opened my Armageddon Strain book.
Yeah,
with the release. It was actually a test, but turned out to be a release or something.
Yeah, and it was very almost prophetic.
Yeah.
We'll say that. Allegedly, we have to say. The chapters actually, and this I think was adapted, but this actually comes out of our book, Giants, Gods, and Dragons.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I think I read, when did I write that? 2019, that chapter?
Yeah, book was published in 2020.
Yeah.
And this is what we've been excerpting at our Substack account for the past, I don't know how many weeks we've been on this now, but a couple of months anyway. So if we've already gone through Bad Moon Rising, my book on Islam, my section of Destination Earth on the UFO, UAP phenomenon, and we're going through Giants, Gods, and Dragons, which right now we're in the section where we're going through the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse.
Oh, that's right.
So it just happened to be this section on the rider on the pale horse.
Yes, that's how we got to that, because Tom had asked me if I would write a book on the Four Horsemen. And I asked, is it okay if Derek and I just do a co-writing book? Because I think it needs to go beyond just chapter 6 of the book of Revelation.
Yeah. And we've again, with what's going on in the world, and we're starting to see, once again, we're at that time of the year where you're starting to see them floating little trial balloons. Will people panic if we put this out there again? Hey, we're starting to see COVID cases ramp up again. But
Ebola.
We're Ebola in the Democratic Republic of Congo.
Chikungunya, which there are about 1 million cases of chikungunya every year, but you're not supposed to know that.
How many different diseases can we throw out there?
Mm-hmm.
It is intended to keep us afraid and wanting the government to protect us from everything. I think the other thing, speaking of artificial intelligence, and maybe a little early for a break, but the next subject is long enough that I think we may want to take a break before it.
Nobody's telling us when we can take a break. We can take one now. We could even take 2. Gasp.
And get another cup of coffee.
We could.
Artificial intelligence is just about everywhere right now, but there are some warning signs that the Bank of England has sounded the alarm about this past week, that it could crash the global economy.
Ooh, yeah, big old bubble.
So we will talk about that when we return on PID Radio.
There were giants in the earth in those days. And also after that. It was a time of gods and dragons.
This was supernatural war between Jesus, God, and the old gods.
We live in the final stage of a war that began before God said, "Let there be light."
The gods of ancient Sumer.
These giants are all through the Bible.
The things that are going on in the world right now, I'm sorry, but the writers, they're out.
Now, a fresh look at the end times that reveals the prophecy of the giants at Armageddon. Names the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse already loose in the world today.
These entities are real entities and not just metaphors or symbols.
And they're all named.
Unmasks the ancient dragons who walk the earth during the Great Tribulation.
A primordial entity such as Kronos or Chaos, Leviathan, Tiamat.
His breath kindles coals and a flame comes forth from his mouth. What is he describing here, if not a dragon?
And unveils hidden prophecies of their ultimate destruction. Giants, Gods, and Dragons by Sharon K. Gilbert and Derek P. Gilbert from Defender Publishing.
Welcome back to PID Radio. I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and we want to remind you that Derek and I pray that we get to go to Israel not just this year, but also next October in 2026. So if you've always wanted to go with us, but you just couldn't go this year, think about next year. And if you can't go with us, go with somebody. You really need to see Israel.
That's really one of the best things that you can do. If you support Israel, one of the best things you can do is to go there. The Israeli economy depends in large part on tourism, and tourism has taken a huge hit over the last 2 years. As you can imagine, our tours in 2018, 19, and 23, we had between 80 and 120 people each time. Our solidarity mission, we got 7 to go with us. And this tour, we've got 30, possibly 32. There's one couple that's trying to check on flights. We pray that they can make it.
Oh, me too. By the way, if you're thinking, okay, Israel is just, we go there to help Jewish companies. That's true. But there are Arab companies that also benefit.
Yeah.
A lot of the coffee stands are run and owned by Arabs. Some of the restaurants we go to are either Druze or they're Arab-owned.
Yep.
In many cases, the Arabs are Muslim. Sometimes the The Bedouins benefit when we're there. We've had a couple of times where there's been a bus driver who was speaking Arabic with our Jewish guide.
Tour guide,
So it and you and I were in several times.
Well,
because the city of David has a lot of Arabic citizens.
Because you've got the Muslim quarter there in Jerusalem,
and it doesn't mean that it could only live there. There's also a Jewish quarter,
and there's an Armenian quarter, and a Christian quarter.
I love the restaurant in the Armenian quarter. Oh my gosh!
I hope we get to go there again.
Me too.
Yeah. We also discovered when we visited the soldiers recovering at the
Tel Aviv hospital.
The hospital in Tel Aviv, and I forget the name of it, but it's a rehabilitation hospital, best medicine in the world. We've learned that about half of the staff in the medical system in Israel is Arab.
Yes.
25% of the country is Arab. They've got members of the Knesset who are Arabic. There are Arabs on the Supreme Court of Israel. So, yeah, this idea that Israel is an apartheid state is just not reality.
True at all.
And no, they do not spit on Christians.
No. I mean, in fact, they welcome us.
Yeah. Now, I'm not going to say it's never happened. There are some ultra-Orthodox who think that is their,
We've never been spat upon.
But we've been there 4 times. And there have been times when we've been apart from the tour group. So it's not like, okay, leave the tourists alone. Go out in the evening. We need to go to the pharmacy to get something, or let's just go to the shops and look around. That has never happened. We've never seen it happen.
No.
We've been around the ultra-Orthodox. We go down to the Western Wall.
We've visited Jordan several times and welcomed over there. I mean, seriously welcomed. And some members of our crew over there, they would go out in the evening in Amman, Jordan.
Yeah.
You would think, okay, this is scary. No. It was safer in Amman, Jordan at midnight than it is at noon in Chicago.
Yeah. Depending on the neighborhood, but yeah. I thought what was really struck me as funny was that in the time of Jesus, Amman, Jordan was called Philadelphia.
I know, isn't that interesting?
And Philadelphia downtown at night was Amman, Jordan, safer downtown at night than downtown Philadelphia at night.
So the AI bubble that you talked about.
gilberthouse.org/travel. We need to
yes,
put
please
that link in there.
Please.
There's the link for information.
Regardless of when it is, you will find information there. And if a point comes in the future, considering that, we're a couple of old geezers, if the point ever comes where we can no longer lead a tour ourselves, we will tell you what people you can go to. And we've got several friends that we would highly recommend. And going through Lipkin tours is always the way to go.
Absolutely. The AI bubble. This is something that the Bank of England put out a statement on, basically send out a notice to their investors and then, issued a press release because of the overinvestment in artificial intelligence recently. They are warning of the risk of a sudden correction, their words, a sudden correction in global financial markets because so many people have anybody comes up and they say, hey, we're going to do this thing and it's going to have AI in it, and investors are just throwing money at them. What they're finding, though, is that of businesses that are investing heavily in AI, about 95% of those are not showing a return on investment. Only 5% are successful. Analysts analysts watching these trends, and unless you're an investor who watches these things carefully yourself, you probably wouldn't know this. I didn't know this until Sharon pointed out the article to me, that the investment bubble in AI right now is 17 times larger than the .com bubble, which burst back in the, was it back in the late 90s or early 2000s?
Early 2000s, I think, because it was after you and I started doing PID radio.
Right. There was a market correction, so it would have been around 2005, 6.
Yeah, I think it was very early in our PID radio. I think
I'd have to look that up because I thought it was earlier than that.
Well, maybe you're right, but it came at about the same time as the the mortgage bubble crash?
It was 2000, so it was about 5 years before we started. The stock market bubble peaked on Friday, March 10th of 2000, and then it collapsed.
Yeah, there was a subprime mortgage.
But then the subprime mortgage crisis, which crashed in 2008.
And I do think that these warnings are correct. I think we're going to see a massive bubble burst with regard to that. But also, I think eventually we're going to see the student loan bubble burst. Yeah,
well, I think you're right about that. So the dot-com bubble, when that popped in 2000, it led to a correction in the markets. But the AI bubble is even 4 times larger than the subprime mortgage collapse.
Ooh,
and when that one crashed, when Lehman Brothers was the big, Bear Stearns was another one.
Mm-hmm.
Those were big investment houses. When Lehman Brothers collapsed, the global financial markets were really scared because they saw as things had to unwind, because you had these guys who owed money to a bunch of other people who then owed money to a bunch of other people.
Dominoes.
And as things began to collapse, there were margin calls where, okay, the amount you borrowed is now too high a percentage relative to what you owe us, and so now you need to pay off your note right now. They were saying back in 2008 that this very nearly collapsed the world's financial system. And that's why, if you're old enough to remember back in 2008, the 2 presidential candidates here in the U.S., the major presidential candidates, Barack Obama and John McCain, both of whom were serving in the U.S. Senate, suspended their campaigns to go back to Washington to vote on a bailout for the banks.
I had forgotten that.
Yeah. And I was thinking, at the time, if John McCain had gone to the Senate and said, look, these are the guys who are playing roulette with the money people had invested in them, let them suffer the consequences, and voted against it, he would have won the presidency. But instead, he and Obama and a majority of the U.S. Senate voted to take U.S. taxpayer money and bail out the banks that had played fast and loose. Right, deep state. They were protecting their own. To play fast and loose with investors' money. Well, all right, that's what happened back in 2008. And I remember, because I was still new on the sales desk at the steel company I was working for. We had moved to Indiana at the end of 2007, and I got there in the first half of 2008. I mean, the orders were coming in like, just fast and
like
furious.
A waterfall, yeah.
Yeah, it was like, trying to keep up with it was like trying to drink from a fire hose. I was told, because I was new, I had no idea, no frame of reference.
You'd sold steel in the past.
Steel pipe, yeah. So it was a different market. This was structural steel plate and beams and things like that. We would normally quote a price for a project and say, okay, these prices are valid for 30 days. And then you'd have to requote. If you held on to the quote, you couldn't come back 6 months later and say, now I want to.
Now they're valid for 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, we were joking. See, these prices are valid until I hang up the phone.
Ooh.
Because the steel mills, were changing prices on an almost weekly basis, sometimes multiple times per week. Okay? We're going at, it's $640 a ton, now it's $680 a ton, now it's $720 a ton, now it's $800 a ton. That's how fast things were changing. And then in August of 2008, things just fell off the cliffs. All of a sudden, the phone stopped ringing. And then we started looking around. It was like, if we're not selling anything, how are they going to pay us? And that led to a bunch of my colleagues on the sales floor being let go.
I remember that.
And I kept my job.
That was a miracle, because you were one of the most recent hires.
I was the most recent hire, yeah. And there were guys who'd been there 10, 11, 12 years. And my boss told me to say, look, don't assume that because you're the last one in, you'll be the first one out. And I don't know if it was because I was making less money than the other guys or because I was a harder worker. I don't know. Anyway, the Lord kept us employed through that period. This AI bubble is 4 times bigger than that. And that's what they are saying. That's why the Bank of England issued this warning this week. AI companies aren't making enough money to cover their expenses. It takes a lot of power and water to cool these server farms. And the AI is just not returning on its investment.
It isn't just that new companies are coming along and saying, I've got this great AI. You don't even have to have a product sometimes. You just say, I do have it. And suddenly all of these, investors will just load in thinking that they're going to make an immediate turnaround.
Right.
And sometimes they do. And they have to get out fast. But there's real production lines taking place. There are real AIs being created. There is real hardware being sold.
Right.
In fact, NVIDIA has, through proxies, sold to China. Oops.
Yeah.
Weren't supposed to be doing that.
No.
Like $2 billion worth.
Yeah. NVIDIA's chips are being used to power a lot of these large language models, these neural networks that process the AI, the LLMs, the large language models. So AI right now accounts for 40% of the gross domestic product of the United States.
That's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. The world's largest economy, last time I checked, it was something around $20 trillion annually. 40% of that now is tied up in generative artificial intelligence investments. One analyst said that the U.S. economy has turned into, in his words, one big bet on AI. AI companies accounted for 80% of the gains in U.S. stocks so far this year. Bottom line is, if and when, I guess when is the better word, when this bubble pops, it's going to take the American economy down with it. And when that happens, the global economy will probably follow.
And now we take a little bit of a left turn into things coming at us. We love the late Tom Horn.
Yeah.
He is with the Lord. We look forward to seeing him again. And I'm betting that if you're allowed to see what's going on earth from heaven, he's at the rail cheering us all on and saying, yep, I knew that was going to happen. Yep, saw that. Yep, saw that too. He believed that what essentially the asteroid Apophis, what he referred to as possible ID wormwood. Apophis is the chaos monster in Egyptian eschatology. That this asteroid is coming at us and that it may well get to so close to the Earth in its first pass, which we believe is going to be in April 13th, by the way, Friday the 13th. Of 2029. Thank you very much. And if it does indeed come as close as some believe, there are various stories out there that it may come in even within our geocentric orbit. In other words, the satellites.
Yeah.
Imagine all of those, or at least half of those, maybe being taken out. Those satellites are not just communication. They also tell planes where they are, tell military where they are. This is how GPS works. They're satellites. So if these go bonkers, suddenly they're not working, the world will crash.
Yeah. I mean, clearly the world managed to get by in the pre-GPS era.
Oh, absolutely.
Air travel and finding our way from point A to point B using paper maps. So, I mean, we could go back to that, but if some of those were knocked out in a hurry in terms of communications, or any of the GPS satellites got knocked out.
That's what I'm talking about. Right. Picture being in a plane.
Yeah.
And suddenly, oops.
Yeah.
Air traffic control, all of these things, they all depend upon GPS.
Yeah. Pray that things are, that there are backup systems, redundancies that will help protect against that. But yeah, it could send us back to an earlier era in a real hurry, and the more we depend on technology that can fail.
Yeah, it could send us back to 18th, 19th century.
Yeah.
But some say Stone Age.
Well.
Rock.
Yeah, I think we'll still, maybe bronze. I think we'll still be able to make metal.
Chalcolithic.
But yeah, there is that. Of course, the other thing that's coming at us that a lot of people are looking at is this Object 3I Atlas.
Yeah, that's a very strange thing. There are some claims, particular Harvard professor, who claims that it appears to be intelligent, as in a ship of some kind.
Yeah.
Others just say, no, it's just a comet or an asteroid. It appears to be outgassing.
Yeah. The Harvard professor is named Avi Loeb. He's a theoretical physicist, astronomer, cosmologist, and he wrote a paper suggesting that it could be artificial.
Well, it's just it could be.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, he's admitted, but you've got to, in some of these articles, you've got to read down to like the 8th or 9th paragraph to see that he's saying, yeah, it's probably just a weird natural object, but the red tops in the UK, like the mirror and the sun and the star.
Even the Daily Mail, they so love teasing you with the headline, and then you'll get, as you say, at least the first few paragraphs, if not all the way down. And the very last paragraph or two, you'll essentially get, now ignore everything up until now.
Yeah. Like some of the documentaries that Netflix puts out there.
Mm-hmm.
2.5 episodes of conspiracy theory, and then the last half episode is like, nah.
The one on the octopus.
The octopus murders.
Yes, right. That's just like that. So ignore the ending on that one.
Yeah. But it is a strange object. Its trajectory is odd. It almost certainly like Oumuamua, which was the other one that came through. And again, Avi Loeb was kind of leading the charge on it. It might be artificial. He's selling a lot of books.
These are interstellar objects.
Right.
That's what the I in 3I stands for.
Yep.
That's the third interstellar object that has been detected by Atlas, which is where you get the Atlas part.
Right. Well, that is, again, if you don't read the articles carefully, you may come away with the impression that, hey, maybe this is an alien probe, and maybe it's from a civilization that's not friendly to us. Maybe they're trying to figure out how to conquer us.
Well, I think...
And then you get down to the bottom. It's like, forget everything you just read.
Well, here's one of the sad truths. I think that there are a lot of folks who only read the headline.
Yes.
And if there's a video, they may only read the title.
Yeah. And then react to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've found that to be the case in... and we were talking about this morning, posting certain things to Facebook here the last couple of weeks.
I stay off politics on Facebook.
Yeah, I didn't consider this politics necessarily, but it was, there are a lot of folks who responded to the articles just by the headline of the article without actually reading the substance of the article. Anyway, 3I Atlas is spewing out a large amount of water, according to futurism.com and was it livescience.com.
Yep, I love both those sites.
It's coming out at it's ejecting water vapor at the rate of 88 pounds per second, which is about the same as a fire hose on full blast.
And it's kind of odd because generally comets will do that as they approach the sun, but that's not where it is right now.
No, it's at this moment, it's about 3 times the distance between the Earth and the sun, or what they call 3 AU, 3 astronomical units. Normally, comets are a lot closer to the sun when they start spewing out gas and water.
Yeah.
This is, again, it's a lot farther away from the sun, so they can't figure out why. And so we were joking before the program that, clearly this is the propulsion system. Some interstellar fireman has got his hose pointed out the back end.
Look, I don't know that there is any way to determine exactly what it is at this point, but here's what I said after we were talking about that. I said, okay, let's look at this under theopolitics. What if, and we get indications in Scripture that there are spirit entities, angels, if you want to call them that are involved with natural phenomena, what we would call weather activity and earthquake activity. And we even get in prophecy, an angel standing in the sun.
Yeah.
So what if, and the morning stars sang together during creation. So when you see in the Bible a reference to the heavenly host, that's an army. And sometimes it's actually referencing the stars that did not come out in their season.
Yeah.
They're being punished.
Yeah, that was really curious.
Yeah, I know. Is that First Enoch?
It's in First Enoch.
Yeah. So what if Three-Eye Atlas has a spirit connection in some way?
Well, we argued in Giants, Gods, and Dragons that is the case with some of the entities that are connected to. Did we write that in Giants, Gods, and Dragons? I don't remember if we did now or not. But we had
Might have been in Veneration.
We forget what we've written where anymore. But in writing about Revelation chapter 8, where you've got the burning mountain that falls into the sea, that descriptor, burning mountain, is used of the angels who did not come out in their season.
Seven burning mountains.
First Enoch chapter 20, maybe chapter 18 as well. I'd have to look it up again. But somewhere in there, between 18 and 20, Enoch is taken into the underworld and shown mountains that are burning, and those were the angels who were being punished.
And Mike Heiser has also written about this.
Well, yes, he mentioned that in Ezekiel chapter 28, which is the parallel chapter to Isaiah 14, the divine rebel who's cast out of Eden. In Ezekiel 28, it makes reference to you were removed from among the stones of fire, and that the stones of fire, there have been some who speculated that, hey, maybe that's the asteroid belt, and this is talking about the planet that was destroyed, that created the asteroid belt. In the midst of the stones of fire you walked. But when you compare that with other Jewish writings, like First Enoch, but also pagan references to the chief deity. Maybe this is in Second Coming of Saturn, I mentioned this. I think it is, actually, because in Mesopotamia, the father god of the Mesopotamian deities, Enlil, and his counterpart, the name that he was given among the Amorites and the Philistines, Dagon, both referred to that entity as Great Mountain. And there's a reference in Zechariah chapter 4, not by might nor by power, but by my
Spirit.
Yeah, I'm messing up that verse totally. But there is a reference to, there we go. I guess I was right. Yeah, not by might nor by power, but by my Spirit, says Yahweh of hosts, the Lord of hosts. Who are you, O great mountain? Before Zerubbabel, you shall become a plain.
Yep.
It was a reference to, in my view, and I think you agree, to that father god of the Mesopotamians, Enlil, who I argue was Shemiyaza, who is Apollyon, Abaddon in the end times. And this is consistent with how angels are described in Ezekiel 28 and in First Enoch as mountains.
And I think it's one reason the Lord says you'll say to this mountain, move, and it will happen. This is a spirit entity that you, as a believer, suited up, according to Ephesians 6:12. You have authority.
Yeah. I had never thought about that, but when Jesus made that statement, he was at the foot of Mount Hermon. You will say to this mountain, move. I'm like, wait a minute, hold on now.
I know,
it's not actually directed at a giant pile of rock. It's talking about a spirit being.
And I think also it's why we see the prophetic word that the mountains will be laid low. And that the hills will be no more. I think the Lord is saying the fallen realm has a use by date. They know their time is short.
Right.
And they only have so long to try to beat him. Well, sorry, do you not understand? He's already won. Clearly, you don't.
Yeah, they're trying to find a legal loophole.
That's exactly what they're looking for.
Yeah,
because they're all about legalism.
Yes. The 7 trumpets of Revelation chapter 8. The second angel blew his trumpet, and something like a great mountain burning with fire was thrown into the sea, and a third of the sea became blood. Wormwood is the third angel blowing his trumpet. A great star fell from heaven blazing like a torch, and it fell on a third of the rivers and on the springs of water. The name of the star is Wormwood. Stars, mountains, both terms that referred to angels, entities. So I think when you ask the question about 3-Eye Atlas, is it possible that it has a spiritual connection? Yeah, I don't see why not. I mean, what's really intriguing is that that being the case, the prophecies in the end times then of these entities, of Wormwood, of the great mountain, we're dealing with these incredibly powerful beings. I think it's also interesting that in the ancient Sumerian, the word for mountain, Kur, K-U-R, also means underworld, netherworld.
Yes.
Same word, but opposite meanings. As above, so below, almost.
Well, yeah.
In a different
and that
sense.
gets into connected. I, by the way, have now restarted. I'm now writing book 9. It probably will take me another 2 or 3 months, especially since we're going to Israel, to finish it. But I spent a long time this morning while I was waiting for Derek to get up. The dogs and I were out here, and they were helping me to, giving me ideas for the plot. But I've been reading a lot of books. I've probably read 30 books in the last year or so that all relate to this setup to World War I, which is where book 9 is. It goes. It's setting up World War I. And that whole geopolitical and theopolitical soup that led to it. One of the books that I started reading today is by Ravenscroft. And it's about the Holy Lance, the Spear of Longinus.
Oh, okay.
And it frankly, it's very woo-woo sort of book, because Ravenscroft admits that some of the information that he put in there actually came from sort of a dream / vision / seance / whatever. He believed in taking, substances to help him to see into the other world.
Oh, yeah.
And he says he has a conversation with a Dr. Stein when, in fact, he admitted later on in an interview that, no, I actually never really met him, but, I did in this other world.
Yeah.
So but the information that's in here takes us back to the occult roots of Nazism. And yeah, there's some stuff that Ravenscroft wrote that doesn't really ring true, but a lot of it does. Regardless of his information coming from another world through taking this substance or another, mescaline or whatever, he was speaking to the fallen realm. He was getting information from the fallen realm, just like some of the Nazis in the inner circle. Many of them had bought into the Teutonic legends. They're very similar. There is a spear that leads to this whole legend of Parsifal. And we get Percival, which is the same name in the King Arthur legends, going after the Holy Grail. It's this idea of the what was it they call him? It's the idea of a king who is wounded. And so his people suffer because the king is wounded. And you have to heal the king with this magical grail or cup or whatever, this blood that will come in and that will heal the king. There's a Germanic version, a Teutonic version of that same Arthurian legend. And Hitler bought into some of that. And at the time that Hitler came to power, the spear, thought to be the actual spear that pierced the Lord's side, was in the possession of the Habsburgs. So it was in Vienna with Emperor Franz Joseph, who is in Book 8.
Yes, right.
And he will continue to be in Book 9 because he lived through World War I. He saw a number of tragedies in his family, one of them actually being the trigger moment, allegedly, we have to say, for World War I, his nephew, the Archduke, being killed. But trying to understand this whole thing, and one of the things I find so interesting about the whole spear idea, because according to Ravenscroft, again, this is according to Ravenscroft, and the Raven part I love in his name. Croft means wood, so it means Ravenswood.
That was the name of the hospital I was born in.
Ravenscroft?
Ravenswood.
Really?
Ravenwood, yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, in Chicago, Ravenwood Hospital.
Was it a giant raven with yellow eyes?
Stupid human.
But allegedly, the centurion who pierced the Lord's side did so. Again, this is Ravenscroft, allegedly getting it from some other place. That was, I think it's the Gospel of Nicodemus or the Book of Nicodemus or something like that, claiming that, and here's the name of the centurion, and here's where he got the spear, that the spear had belonged to, Herod. Herod, who inherited it from his grandfather or something like that. So the spear that had been in the Herodian family for a while, and that it goes all the way back to ancient times. It was the very spear that Saul threw at David, that kind of stuff. I know. It gets into craziness.
Okay.
But what I find so interesting about the word spear is that it's part of the meaning, the tapestry of meanings behind Cain's name.
Interesting.
Part of Cain's name, it has a number of meanings. One of them is a reed, and it's the shape of the reed, as in the staff of the spear. But he also has a part of his name that means metallurgist.
Tubal Cain, in other words.
Well, yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
And let's not forget the sin of the Watchers. The one who was given the special imprisonment was Azazel.
Well, true.
Because
yes,
he's the one who taught them to make special metals. He taught them about war.
Yeah.
And he also taught the women to
adorn themselves.
Yeah. For ritualistic sex. That was the problem. Hubba hubba.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting into this idea of a spear going back all the way to Cain, that's going to be in the Red Wing Saga.
That's very interesting. You know, there's another author, and gosh, no, I'm forgetting his name, but you and he were both published at the same time.
Oh, yeah, I know who you're talking about. He wrote children's books.
James Byron Huggins.
Oh, him, yes. Oh, yes, through Whitaker House.
Yeah. And he had what was the name of the novel? The novel that it was released at the same time as...
Wasn't it following a monk or a...
Nightbringer was the name of the novel.
Thank you.
Released in 2004, same time as Winds of Evil.
Yes, great writer.
Right. It was part of a new fiction line that Whitaker House was launching. And they were in the process of editing my novel, The God Conspiracy, when we decided to part ways with them.
Yeah, I think at the time, Whitaker House, it was kind of new to them to go into Christian fiction, especially supernatural fiction.
Yes.
They didn't know what to do with it.
No, and it was a different type of fiction because, like yours, Huggins was not writing it. What was really selling in Christian fiction?
Christian romances were the big deal. If you went into a Christian bookstore, you would find an entire section of Christian romances.
Yeah, and a lot of them based on Amish family.
Yeah,
stories,
strangely enough. And that may be because of that movie with Harrison Ford.
I guess. Sort of an idealistic view of, but anyway, Huggins' novel, Nightbringer, is about
somebody has to go outside.
A bunch of people who are trapped at a snowed-in monastery in the Italian Alps. And when they're there, something very dark and evil is there, and a mysterious stranger who is locked in with the people is the only one who knows what they're dealing with and how to take it out. And it turns out that it is Longinus.
I do remember that now that you say that. And I remember thinking at the time that should be a movie.
It was really amazing. I'd like to find a copy of it and read it again. I should read more of Huggins' stuff, because I remember at the time thinking it's like being on a roller coaster ride. You could get up to a certain peak and everything is kind of calm, and suddenly then you're headed down at, breakneck pace, and the action is just everywhere, and then it slows down again. But it was extremely well done. I thought Nightbringer should have been a movie and should be much better known than it is. Mm-hmm. But he's also got other novels like Cain.
Oh, well, it does sound...
Leviathan.
Oh, well.
Sorcerer.
Well, if you're looking for something to read, we've been recommending Brian Godawa's stuff for a long time. Yeah. He's a great writer. He's very visual. And we highly recommend the Nightbringer series too. Can you give his name again? And I'll look on Amazon to see if he's got stuff there.
Oh, yeah. James Byron Huggins is his name. And looking at the description of his book, Hunter, which is part of a trilogy, the world's keenest hunter, Hunter, his name, competes against a secret government agency to retrieve the half-human, half-animal product of illegal genetic experiments, a beast capable of unbounded destruction from the icy north of the Arctic Circle.
His books are on Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah, okay. Well, all right. I know what I'm going to add to my stuff to read on the flight over to Israel.
Yeah, so. And I'm not sure everything is on Kindle Unlimited, but yeah, they're on Kindle. So Cain's on Kindle. Is Nightbringer on here? But yeah, you can find it.
I started reading Leviathan. On an Icelandic island, an illegal experiment intended to create the perfect biological weapon has transformed a once innocent creature into the biblical Leviathan that once terrorized the world.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it's his writing style, like Brian Godawa's, is very visual. And it kind of relates. Well, that's what reminded me of it. That's what I was doing, looking up over here while you were talking about the spear of Longinus. Longinus turns out to be a character in Nightbringer because, according to legend, because some of the blood of Christ got on him, he is condemned to wander the earth until Christ returns. Oh,
yeah, I've seen that too.
Yeah.
So Cain and he are the only two that are, immortals, so to speak.
But yeah, interesting. I was right the first time. It is Ravenswood Hospital in Chicago where I was born. But since then, it's been converted into senior living apartments. That's how old I am.
You could start bookend your life. We'll go.
That's right. There. The place I was born is now senior living.
Oh, good. I love that.
We can run out of time. Well, it's the OG report.
The OG report, as I mentioned earlier, my eyes are really, really doing well. So well now that I'm back to writing. I still have to sort of watch the contrast on my screen because I find that I'm much more light sensitive even after having the cataract surgery. And that's because of my meibomian gland dysfunction. And I've heard from many of you out there, and you get to a certain age, and it's pretty likely that you're going to have some problems with your oil glands in your eyelids. So it makes your tear film less, it doesn't work as well. Yeah. It doesn't make very good tear film. But that's much better. And I'm under treatment for that. I'm going to see my rheumatologist next month, and she will probably let me know whether or not I actually do have Sjogren's, and if so, we'll go from there. But if it's just my eyes that's affected, then okay. Probably does affect my larynx, vocal folds too, my larynx. So it's drying out my eyes, drying out my voice, so we'll see where it goes from there. But you are still getting some guesswork from the doctors because when you got a set of symptoms like yours, it's about 20 or 30 different diagnoses.
Yeah, and as you can hear with my voice, this is not a bronchial infection. This is not a cold. This is not allergies. This is part of the spectrum of symptoms that I've been dealing with for about the last year, really about 2.5 years, but it started slowly and then really started to ramp up last fall. And then after the surgery required to correct the abdominal aneurysm, which was found because of my complaints about, hey, this is starting to, affect my balance, the neuropathy in my feet. I'm losing control of my feet. That found the aneurysm. Once that was corrected, my immune system went into hyperdrive and started attacking the myelin sheath around the nerves.
Well, the good news is you had an MRI.
The MRI from last week, we finally got results of it.
You do have a brain. Turns out you do have a brain. But here's the good news. It was totally normal.
Right.
No lesions, no tumors, and no meningitis.
Right. There was an MRI back in February. And the reason they sent me for another one was because of additional symptoms. Difficulty with fine motor skills now, some beginning of neuropathy in my fingers.
You still type, though?
I can still type, but handwriting. My handwriting is now an old person's scrawl.
Like mine.
It's getting very spidery because it's strange. My grip is still normal. But when I try to do things with my fingers, the muscles in my forearms feel like I've been, doing curls or something.
Buttons,
so
things like that.
If you see me wearing a lot of T-shirts lately, like the forthcoming episodes with David Heavener on Skywatch TV, I wore a jacket with a T-shirt underneath it. It's because buttons are getting difficult. So that is the trade-off. But as long as I can still think and I can still type, the other stuff is manageable. The canes help me walk around without too much difficulty, help me keep my balance. And because of the protocol that they've got me on, the weight that I'd lost back in the spring, and there's some people who've seen me recently who hadn't seen me for a while. Like I was on L.A. Marzulli's program earlier this week, and I'll have to find that and share that link around. And yesterday I was on Encounter Today with Alan DiDio, who, by the way, is very excited about Columbus Day coming back.
Me too.
Being Italian,
Oh, yes, of
DiDio,
course.
yeah. So they're very excited about that. And he said that, he and L.A. both said, hey, you're looking a lot better than the last time I saw you. It's like, well, again, it's because the weight has come back, but it's come back as more muscle.
Yeah.
Some other friends who hadn't seen me in a while said, hey, you look like you've lost weight. I said, no, actually, I've gained weight. It's just not where it was before.
You got really skinny, and your shoulder blades were really sticking out.
Yeah.
I mean, you lost muscle mass in your upper body.
Right.
And now you've gotten it back.
And then some.
Yeah.
I've got more muscle than I did before all this started. It's just, again, the nerves are not controlling anything in my feet, so I still need the cane to walk around.
And because your feet, you have difficulties just balancing and walking through the house, that and for other reasons, we really are serious when we say we're trying to find a new home or homes for our dogs. They are very good together, but they don't have to stay together. I think either dog would be fine on her own. Anytime you adopt a new animal into your household, there's a little bit of getting used to everybody, period. But these girls are sweet. If you live in the area, or even if you live somewhere else and you think you want to drive in, please let us know. We really, really want to find wonderful homes for these girls. They're sweet girls.
Right. And that's why we have not gone to like a local shelter. And there's nothing wrong with the shelters. And there's some wonderful rescue facilities here in the area.
Yes.
We would like to know the people, or at least get to meet the people who they will bond with and get their new homes with. It's mainly because with my balance issues and the fact that I'm on Plavix, which is intended to prevent, or at least to make it more difficult for blood to clot, because I've got that stent now in that artery in my leg.
If you were to fall and hit your head, you could have an intracranial bleed.
Right. And Grace is very good. When I walk, she at my heel. But Glory, she likes to, she gets really excited.
Circles you.
Yeah. And that could be a problem. So,
Even here, I'm going to be 73 this month, so I kind of have to watch my feet. I don't have any trouble walking. It's just when there's a 45-pound dog that's circling around you.
Yeah, yeah.
She is funny, though.
So if
she
you're
does
interested,
zoomies, and she's cute as a button.
You can follow either one of us on Facebook. You'll see plenty of dog pictures between Sharon and me. Some of them we've turned into cartoons because they're just both really
and little videos.
And little videos. They're very, very cute, very sweet animals. They're both spayed, they're both chipped, and they both up to speed on their vaccines.
Yep.
So you just drop us a note, info@gilberthouse.org. That's info @gilberthouse.org. And we will be happy to make introductions. Tomorrow we've got the Gilbert House Fellowship, and again next weekend, and for the next couple of weeks, because we will be in Israel. We will be sharing some short videos while we're in Israel as time allows, because we want to, hold up the tour. It's like everybody stand there and wait while we record something.
No, we can do things on the bus.
We'll do things on the bus. We'll do things on the fly, because we don't want to interrupt and take time away from the group.
No, not at all.
But we will share with you as much as we can while we are in Israel.
Also, if there a news report, something big breaks, Derek will record a really quick 5-minute or whatever breaking news update from there. Other than that, 5 and 10 will also be sort of spotty.
Yeah. And we've done that before. Joe Horn has been very gracious in allowing us to do this. And so we are thankful for that, because the opportunities we've had to travel to Israel over the last 7 years, just nothing I ever thought I'd be able to experience in my lifetime.
Yeah.
And we're just
wonderful.
Really excited to share that with people. But if you can't be with us, and it's a relatively small group, just one bus this time, we will do our best to share it with you vicariously through video. So until next time, I'm Derek Gilbert.
I'm Sharon Gilbert, and for Grace and Glory, who are now in the front yard and want to come in. Bye-bye, everybody. We love you.
PID Radio is produced by Gilbert House and released under Creative Commons Attribution Non-Commercial No Derivatives 4.0 International License. Follow us online, Twitter @PID Radio, or the PID Radio page at Facebook. Join us each week for our online Bible study, the Gilbert House Fellowship, online at gilberthouse.org.